Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the budget code that paid for silence. We are going to look at how a seemingly boring, everyday administrative financial record was actually hiding a massive corporate cover-up. It's this incredibly fascinating case study on workplace transparency, audit trails, and how the absolute most damaging secrets aren't usually shouted in hallways. They're just quietly filed away in spreadsheets.
Take a look at this. A tiny budget code appeared under Team Wellness. It had paid for 3 private settlements. That realization right there sets the immediate stakes of our corporate mystery. It perfectly illustrates that the most dangerous threats in an office, well, they don't storm in through the front door. They just sit quietly on a polished desk, completely disguised as standard procedure. And when misconduct looks exactly like routine paperwork, it becomes incredibly difficult to catch.
Part 1. The TW14 Wellness Code.
So to really understand this, we have to look at the audit team, which was led by strategy lead Maya Carter. They were in there hunting for vulnerabilities, and they found this massive contrast in the company's language. The official spin from the finance department painted this specific budget code as routine employee assistance. I mean, it sounds incredibly caring, right? But Carter immediately suspected the darker reality here. This money was actually being used to fund quiet exits for employees who had reported misconduct. It wasn't assistance at all. It was straight-up settlement money designed to make problems disappear.
As Maya brilliantly points out, the dangerous documents never look dangerous first. And honestly, this is the trap we all fall for in the professional world. Standard corporate procedure kind of lulls us to sleep. Lies almost always arrive disguised as legal caution or business continuity, or, in this specific case, team wellness. If an explanation arrives a little too smoothly and just fits perfectly into an existing administrative bucket, yeah, that is exactly when you need to start checking the timestamps.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the mechanics of TW14 and who exactly was pulling the strings. It was a budget code intentionally nested deep within Team Wellness, where literally nobody would ever look twice. The architects behind this whole masking operation, Finance Director Owen Gray and Executive Victor Hale. They were leveraging the super obscure administrative line item to control the company's narrative and ultimately to silence whistleblowers without raising a single red flag within the standard accounting software.
Part 2. Building the audit timeline.
Deconstructing this lie required undeniable evidence, which brings us to Aisha. She's a new analyst on Maya's team, working alongside Nina, Jordan, Linda, and Elise. Aisha noted, "I am new enough to still read the parts everyone calls standard." This is just a massive takeaway for anyone entering a new profession. The experienced veterans completely skipped the small print because they just assumed it was routine paperwork. But Aisha asked the simple questions and actually checked the metadata, proving that fresh eyes are very often your best defense against institutional blindness.
Aisha's observation really fueled Maya's proof map methodology. Instead of chasing boardroom gossip or loud opinions, the team followed a clean, mechanical, 3-step path. What changed in the system? Who changed it, and who benefits from that change? It's just a beautifully structured way to cut through all the corporate noise and find the actual owner of an action. They were turning vague suspicions into a concrete chain of custody.
Now, executing that proof map meant digging deep into background records. Nina, the executive assistant on the team, proved a crucial point. While executives might confidently delete a final report, they inevitably forget about the calendar exports, the saved drafts, the badge logs, task notes, muted notifications, the whole shebang. Nina's work really demonstrates that even when people try to hide their actions, their background administrative work always leaves a foreground digital footprint. You just have to know where to look.
And when HR manager Linda mapped out these digital footprints, the sequence was absolutely damning. Check this out. Day 1, a major HR complaint is filed. Day 2, that exact complaint vanishes or an exit interview is conveniently edited. Day 3, a TW14 payment is quietly issued to that same employee. She perfectly aligned the dates of the missing complaints directly with the dates of the hidden payouts. It transformed scattered anomalies into an undeniable pattern of behavior.
Which leads to this massive realization from IT auditor Jordan. This is not suspicion. This is sequence. Really let that distinction sink in. The system logs provided mechanical, repeatable proof. It completely removed all emotion from the investigation. It was no longer a game of he said, she said. It was a mathematical certainty. Because, you can argue against an accusation all day, but you absolutely cannot argue against a timestamped server log.
Part 3. Confronting the evidence.
So with the sequence locked in, Maya's team brought their findings right to the very executives who designed the cover-up. Predictably, when confronted with the data in the boardroom, the executives tried to soften their verbs, getting defensive and talking about things like optics and healing periods, but Linda from HR shut them down entirely. She said procedure is not a hiding place, not anymore. The team absolutely refused to let the executives hide behind the comfortable, polite excuse of administrative error.
The team put their data mapping right there on the table, completely cornering them. The correlations proved undeniably that Executive Victor Hale personally approved the TW14 code exactly 1 day after every single major employee complaint. 1 day. What looked like a random budget error to the untrained eye was mathematically exposed as a highly intentional, highly controlled design to basically buy silence and force whistleblowers out the door.
Victor Hale actually tried to warn Maya that she was causing unnecessary damage by pushing the issue, but notice how Maya strategically removes all comfortable excuses here. She doesn't yell or get emotional, which would just give them an easy out to dismiss her as unprofessional. No, she simply says, I am not asking you to trust me, I am asking you to trust the record you created. It is an absolute masterclass in confrontation. She trapped them in their own system logs, leaving literally zero room for negotiation.
Part 4, the cost of silence. The truth was out. But identifying a problem isn't the same as fixing it, right? To actually cure the institutional rot, independent board member Elise shattered the last remaining alibi with one incredibly pointed question. If this was harmless, why did it need to be hidden? It's a brilliant razor that you can apply to almost any corporate transparency issue. If TW14 was truly just routine employee assistance, there would be no need for secret approvals, nested codes, and conveniently deleted calendar invites.
Faced with exposure, the company's first instinct was a private fix. Quietly sweep it under the rug, reprimand people behind closed doors, and move on. But Maya absolutely refused to back down, demanding a public repair. Elise escalated the financial masking directly to the audit committee to ensure that the settlement recipients were legally protected from retaliation. They completely transformed a quiet cover-up into a highly visible institutional correction.
Maya's reasoning for this is summed up in this incredible lesson. Do not quietly fix what can publicly teach. True governance and genuine closure only happen when a company is willing to learn from its systemic failures right out in the open. A private fix just guarantees that the exact same vulnerability is going to be exploited again by the very next executive who thinks they're clever enough to hide their tracks.
So, I really want you to pause and reflect on this. What happens when the procedures designed to protect a company are weaponized to protect its executives? Standard corporate processes like wellness budget codes, HR complaint files, NDA settlements, they can so easily become tools for masking misconduct, especially if nobody is brave enough or new enough to read the fine print and actually check the timestamps on those administrative tasks.
We're going to conclude today's explainer on this lingering, deeply provocative thought. Silence is a cost center when a company has been buying it for long enough. Corporate cover-ups always leave a receipt, whether it's buried in a badge log, a deleted draft, or some mislabeled wellness fund. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating look at systemic accountability. Keep asking questions, keep checking the record, and I'll see you in the next explainer.